Walmart is the world's largest company by revenue, pulling in over $600 billion every single year. But its founder? He grew up during the Great Depression on a struggling farm and was once told by his boss that he would never make it in retail. So how did this man build one of the most powerful business empires on earth? Well, depending on who you ask, Walmart's story is either a tale of relentless innovation or a tragedy of corporate greed. Because along the way, Walmart has been hit with scandals, bribery allegations, and ruthless business tactics. So, let's dive into the wild true story of Walmart. Sam Walton was born on March 29, 1918, in the tiny town of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. His parents were farmers, but times were tough. By the age of 8, Sam was already hustling, delivering newspapers, selling magazine subscriptions, and raising animals just to help support his family. But things only got harder. When the Great Depression hit in 1929, their farm collapsed. Sam's father, desperate for work, took a job managing defaulted farm loans. He was now tasked with repossessing farms from families just like his, friends, neighbors, people they knew. Between 1929 and 1931, Sam's dad seized hundreds of properties. Watching these hard-working people lose their livelihoods left a lasting mark on Sam. He vowed to make money and never waste it. In 1936, Sam entered the University of Missouri. He studied economics, committed to military service to save on tuition, and waited tables in exchange for meals. Even in high school, Sam ran a newspaper delivery route that he expanded into a mini business. By college graduation, it was bringing in over $4,000 a year, equivalent to nearly $80,000 today. After college, in 1940, Sam joined JCPenney's management training program, earning $75 a month. But things didn't go well. Sam's paperwork was sloppy, and his books were constantly disorganized. His boss even threatened to fire him, saying he wasn't cut out for retail. Determined to prove himself, Sam worked 7 days a week, 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. But then, history interrupted. The US joined World War II, and Sam was drafted into the army. It was during this time that everything changed. While stationed stateside, Sam met Helen Robson at a bowling alley. She was on a date with someone else, but Sam didn't care. Less than a year later, they were married, and this marriage would be a turning point in his career. Helen's father was a successful lawyer and banker. When Sam pitched the idea of buying a retail store, his new father-in-law agreed to loan him $20,000. Sam added $5,000 of his own savings. With that $25,000, Sam bought a Ben Franklin franchise store in Newport, Arkansas, in 1945. But there was a catch. The store was failing. Sales were half that of its main competitor right across the street. And Sam's rent? 5% of sales, one of the highest in the industry. At just 27 years old, Sam had never run a store. But he was about to flip this one upside down. Sam did something radical. Instead of just discounting select items and marking up others, he lowered prices across the board. His logic? More sales meant more total profit, even if the profit per item was smaller. And it worked. He'd buy something for 80 cents, sell it for $1 instead of $1.20, and still make more money by selling more of it. But to make this model work, Sam needed cheaper products. Unfortunately, Ben Franklin's franchise agreement required him to buy stock from their overpriced wholesaler, Butler Brothers. Sam felt trapped. So, he got creative. After hours, he drove into rural areas, hunted down obscure wholesalers, and bought whatever he thought would sell: men's shirts, women's underwear, kitchen goods. He filled his homemade trailer, brought the items back, and sold them fast. Customers couldn't believe the prices. Even more bold, Sam started calling manufacturers directly, trying to bypass Butler Brothers entirely. Ben Franklin was furious, but they tolerated him because his store's sales were growing fast. By the end of year one, sales jumped 45%, hitting $105,000. The next year, $140,000. Sam was thriving and had paid back his loan. With his brother Bud now helping in the store, the two of them worked tirelessly, stocking shelves, sweeping floors, analyzing competitors, and constantly trying to improve. By year 5, the store brought in $250,000 in revenue and was the best performing Ben Franklin in the area. But then, disaster. The landlord, who also owned the Ben Franklin franchise, decided not to renew Sam's lease. He gave the location to his son instead. Sam had no choice. He had to sell the business he'd built from the ground up. It was a crushing blow. Sam called it the lowest moment of his life. With 4 young kids and no store, he had to start again. In 1950, Sam moved to Bentonville, Arkansas, and opened a new shop, Walton's Five and Dime. This time he secured a 99-year lease. No one would take his store again. He used the same playbook: lower prices, high volume, and obsessive attention to competitors. But now, he owned the local newspaper too, meaning he could flood it with ads for next to nothing. Soon, everyone in town was shopping there. One day, Sam heard about a new store concept up in Minnesota: self-service shopping. So, he took a 9-hour bus ride overnight just to see it. Instead of clerks retrieving items for customers, shoppers grabbed their own and checked out at the front. It was faster, cheaper, and more efficient. Sam brought the model back to Bentonville. With the success of Walton's Five and Dime, Sam started expanding. More stores popped up, some under the Ben Franklin name, others on his own. But Sam had a bigger vision: massive discount stores in small towns, places other retailers ignored. When he couldn't find partners to support the idea, Sam mortgaged his home, borrowed from friends, and opened the first Walmart in Rogers, Arkansas, in 1962. The store was a hit. People didn't have to drive to the city for cheap goods. Walmart brought it right to them, and at lower prices. Sam kept learning. He visited rivals like Kmart and Sears, even taking notes in their meetings when they didn't see him as a threat. By 1971, Walmart had 6 more stores, and millions in debt. Sam was barely staying ahead by borrowing from one bank to pay another. So, he made a bold move. He took Walmart public. With new capital from the stock market, Sam rapidly expanded. Dozens of stores became hundreds. He cut costs everywhere, hanging lights with wire, using metal shelving, building his own supply chain network. And then, he got ruthless. Walmart would enter a rural town, undercut every local shop, and dominate the market. Competitors simply couldn't match Walmart's buying power. Critics accused Walmart of predatory pricing. Sam called it competition. By 1980, Walmart had 276 stores, and the growth didn't stop. In fact, it got faster. But so did the backlash. Employees went on strike over low pay. Lawsuits mounted. Reports of union busting and wage theft appeared. Yet Walmart kept growing. By 1990, Walmart had over 1,000 stores and was the #1 retailer in America. But cracks were showing. The stores were growing faster than the warehouses. Supply chains strained. Worker dissatisfaction spread. And yet, Sam pushed forward. In 1983, he opened Sam's Club, offering bulk goods to small business owners. Walmart started sourcing directly from factories in Central America and Asia, cutting out middlemen entirely. Every move was about lowering costs. When Sam Walton died in 1992, Walmart was making over $100 billion a year. Not bad for a kid who once sold pigeons to survive. Walmart wasn't just growing, it was devouring. By the mid-90s, Walmart had become the biggest employer in America, but the larger it grew, the more serious the accusations became. It started with wages. Walmart has long been criticized for paying workers near or at minimum wage, while offering few benefits and discouraging full-time work to avoid providing health care. Many workers reported needing government assistance just to survive. But it got worse. In 2001, a group of employees sued Walmart, claiming the company systematically forced them to work overtime without pay. Managers allegedly gave impossible workloads, then pressured employees to stay late off the clock. Walmart eventually paid out tens of millions in settlements. Walmart is famously and aggressively anti-union. They hired one of the most notorious union-busting lawyers in the US, John Tate, to develop training and surveillance strategies. Employees were shown anti-union videos during work hours. They were told that unionizing could cost them their jobs, or shut down their store entirely. In one extreme case, a Walmart store in Quebec, Canada voted to unionize in 2004. Within months, Walmart shut it down. The message was loud and clear. Organizing had consequences. Even store managers were trained to detect early warning signs of union activity, things like employees talking in private or asking too many questions about their rights. But if you think conditions were bad in the US, overseas, they were far worse. Investigations into Walmart's global supply chain found horrifying conditions in supplier factories. In Bangladesh, workers making clothes for Walmart earned as little as 20 cents an hour. In China, labor watchdogs discovered employees working 14-hour shifts, 7 days a week, earning $30 a month. Some were as young as 13. Walmart claimed these were isolated incidents and said they'd increase factory audits. But over the years, evidence kept surfacing. In one case, a supplier in Honduras was caught physically abusing workers while producing goods for Walmart. Walmart's low prices, it seemed, came at a human cost. Then came one of Walmart's biggest scandals: bribery in Mexico. In 2005, a whistleblower came forward claiming Walmart had paid millions in bribes to Mexican officials to fast-track store openings. Internal documents showed that Walmart de Mexico had authorized at least $24 million in bribes to secure permits, sidestep zoning laws, and dominate the local market. Even worse, Walmart's US executives reportedly knew and tried to cover it up. It wasn't until 2012, when the New York Times published a detailed investigation, that the public found out. The fallout was massive. Walmart's stock dropped, multiple investigations were launched, and their image took a serious hit. Whenever Walmart entered a small town, dozens of local businesses closed. They couldn't match Walmart's prices, buying power, or advertising reach. Studies showed that when Walmart moved in, small grocery stores, hardware shops, clothing stores all vanished within a few years. Jobs were lost. Communities were hollowed out. Local economies collapsed. And Walmart didn't just undercut prices, they planned to. According to internal documents, Walmart would target competitors by selling key items like milk, bread, or diapers at a loss, just to lure customers away. Once the competition was gone, they'd quietly raise prices back up. This is called predatory pricing, and it's one of the most controversial strategies in retail history. Walmart has spent the last decade trying to clean up its image. It's invested billions in improving working conditions, raising wages slightly, and promoting environmental sustainability. It even promised to source more products from the US, improve gender diversity, and create better jobs. But for many, the damage was already done. Because for every promise Walmart made, there were still reports of poor working conditions, employee protests, and factory tragedies overseas. Even today, critics argue that Walmart's entire business model depends on keeping costs low at any cost. There's no denying it. Walmart is one of the greatest business success stories in history. A kid born on a farm in Oklahoma built the largest company in the world. But the road to that empire was paved with relentless cost-cutting, devastated communities, and exploited workers. So, is Walmart a symbol of American ingenuity, or a warning of what happens when profits come before people? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.